Palestine Town Council meeting for January 18th. First item on the agenda is the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We need to have a roll call, the members present. Do I do that?
Yes. That's part of your new role.
Angie?
Here.
Brandy?
Here.
I'm here. Chris? Here. And Bill?
Yes.
Everybody's here. Okay, the first item on the agenda, approval of the January 4th minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the January 4th, 2023 minutes, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's passed. Okay, we don't have any new agenda items, nothing under old business tonight. And our new business, the first item on the agenda is the Lions Club entry. I don't know if anybody came here from the Lions Club.
Kelly Johnson reached out and asked for us to discuss it. She wasn't going to be able to be at the meeting tonight.
What they want to do is, I don't know, I'm not even going to go to how many feet it is or anything else, but they want us to repair, fix, repair, pave, maybe not pave, maybe fix and repair the area that's in front of the Lions Club lift station. Because they said trucks are in and out of there all the time, and they have chuck holes.
Well, I went down there and looked at it. They do have chuck holes, but I would say that our service truck that goes in there is a fraction of a percentage of the vehicles that are in and out of there. It's up to the council what you guys would like to do. We don't own any of it. NDOT has like 12 foot from edge of pavement, that asphalt apron, and then the rest of it's Lions Club. So we can send a guy, we could do something as easy as send a guy down there with the backhoe, scratch out those potholes, and dress it up with some number 8, which would be maybe in the range of a couple $100. Or I went down there and measured it. The area is like 20 by 60. If you wanted to go all the way, we could dig it out, have a company come in, pave it. I figured some numbers, and that's probably about $6,500. So somewhere between 400 and 6,500.
It's never been paved. The
No.
state used it for staging when they did some work on the highway. And I think the terms was that if they had any left over, to put as much as they could, and it looks like they had a little bit of, I took some pictures of it today, so it's just a little part maybe from Clint to myself, so that had one side of it, some pavement, so.
Well, do we have some kind of easement or something to get to our lift station, or?
I looked at that. I'm sure that somewhere along the line when they put that lift station in, we had to have some kind of agreement. We had to have an easement to it. But it doesn't show it on Beacon.
So is there any indication that it's town vehicles that have created the chuck holes?
Well, we do have back trucks that go in there. I think Kyle said they'll go in there about twice a year that we schedule it. But they also have the dumpster that goes in and out, and then the trucks, so it's, but we've got a tractor. If we need to fill in the potholes, we can do that in the gravel right there at the edge. I see no need to pave it. It never has been paved.
That lift station always has trucks out there. I've always seen lights on it. It's never working correctly. we've had, comps had to go out there and pump it out, it's, see, it's heavy equipment.
There's a
on
truck
there.
out there every Wednesday. A pickup truck.
There's been heavier machine out there when it wasn't working.
Twice a year we have it pumped out.
Well, I don't know, I mean, she's not here and I don't know what her, what she had in mind.
She just wanted the potholes fixed.
Huh?
She just wants the potholes fixed.
And we can do that, yeah.
That could
Like
be
a
done
Well, that, if we,
fairly
Like a pretty easy solution.
inexpensively.
Yep.
And would be my recommendation, honestly.
Lions Club, they called last week and they had a tree down on the railroad track. And we went out with the backhoe and pulled it off, so I have no problem helping out.
Well, and you say, Steve, it costs us a couple $100 to, if we just filled the holes.
I mean, between manpower, one of our guys took the backhoe down there, scratched out those potholes, even took a bucket of number 8s down there to dress them up. When he was done, he could back drag that, and, that would eliminate that problem. And I assume that's the complaint probably, is just people pulling their cars and, those, there are some pretty deep little, deep potholes there, it does, so.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we do that. I don't think that we should be paving an area that's on land that we don't own and, because then I don't think we should have to do that, at least not at this point. But I do think, because we do have vehicles that access it for our benefit, and it's good for everybody that goes to the Lions Club. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
it's been made and seconded, is there any comment on that motion? I think that's a pretty easy fix. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Passed. Next item on the agenda is the council appointment of the new EDC member.
I guess I can speak on that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
So the EDC is composed of one appointee by the president of the council, one appointee by the town council, and then one appointee by the county council. So currently, we have Jenny, who's the other member?
Yes.
Who?
What?
Who's the other member for the,
Oh, Dale
Dale
Dara.
Dara.
So Dale Dara, Jenny, and then Andy Neumeister has resigned. Unfortunately, town records don't reflect who appointed each individual, other than we know Bill appointed Jenny last year. However, it came to light that the spot that Jenny filled was actually a county council position.
Correct.
So the appointing authority has to appoint the replacement for their appointee. So the county council will ask them to make their appointment at their next county council meeting, which is, I think, the second Wednesday in February. And then there's the president, Clint, your appointee, and then the county council has an appointee, I'm sorry, the city, where am I?
Town council.
Town council has an appointment. I would recommend that either Clint as president or the town council nominate Dale to continue on. Part of the rationale is the EDC members have a right to judicial review if they're removed. Unfortunately, again, we don't know who appointed Dale or when he was appointed, but by reappointing him and formalizing that process, he'll have a 4-year term. There'll be no right to judicial review, and then the other body who didn't appoint Dale can make a nomination.
So I have a question, Doug. One person is appointed by the county council, And how does that issue even get before the county council?
We'll have to send notice to them.
And then do we make a recommendation? Or
Yeah,
they just,
before we always sent a name over to them and they approved it, so. Okay, I'm just telling you what happened.
Yeah, and if they accept it, great, but just per statute, they have to make one nomination. And so if they heed your advice, all the better.
So who's on it now?
Jenny Griner, Dale Dara,
and
and
Andy
Andy-
Newmeister.
and Andy Newmeister, but Newmeister has submitted resignation.
And Jenny was improperly appointed. I think she'd be willing to serve again, but either,
I will do whatever needs to be done. I don't need to be on it, but whatever you need to
So-
correct it.
so-
the president or the council I would recommend either the president or the council nominate Daryl. And then whoever doesn't nominate Daryl has a nomination to
Dale,
fill.
Dara,
There, yeah,
yeah,
Dale, I'm
Dara.
sorry.
That's okay,
Dale Dare.
that's all right. Daryl,
Is Dale still agreed to be on it?
yes.
Okay,
yes, cool.
okay.
So why don't we let Clint make his appointment?
Well, I really don't have an appointment. I was gonna nominate Dale Dare as the town council appointment.
Okay,
Okay,
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
okay,
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed? So Dale Dare is the town council appointment.
And we will keep record of that. He serves a 4-year term now. And then Clint, your appointment, because it's by you as an individual, doesn't have to be in a public meeting. You can make that appointment and later announce it so that they could serve at the
Oh.
next meeting.
Okay, I guess we need, if we want Jenny to continue on, she needs to be appointed by the county council.
Or you. Yep.
Or you.
Those are the two
Or
people
me,
left.
yeah.
Yep.
And so what do we do? Just make a motion on that and then we send it over to the county council?
I think it'd be appropriate if you want to make a recommendation to the county council to make a motion on who you'd recommend to the county council. Of course, the county council gets discretion on who they nominate.
Jenny, do you still agree to be on
I will.
it? Okay, does anybody want to make an appointment for Jenny to be, to send her name to the county council to be our appointment through the county council?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those for Jenny being, our, nomination to be the county, council appointment, say aye.
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 Opposed? So we'll send that recommendation to the county council. And then there's a town council appointment,
Presidential.
Your
pres-
appointment.
Yeah.
our town president appointment,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna wait on that. I gotta see what, I'm new on this job here, fellas.
Gonna take a survey?
Take a survey.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Survey says, okay.
Now, under that new business, while we're talking about board appointments, we had Yvonne wanted to resign from the planning commission. And does she just resign, or do we need to vote on that?
She sent in a written resignation, so
Right.
she serves until somebody else is named.
Okay.
So she gets to resign. You can't make her do it. And then I confirmed with Yvonne, and I believe Angie and Brandy recalled that Bill made Yvonne's appointment. So again, that falls to you, Clint, to make the replacement. And
Okay,
again,
was there any other, everybody else still agreed to be on the planning commission?
to my knowledge, yes.
Okay, so there's only one appointment available to the planning commission.
Correct.
Okay,
It's yours.
my appointment.
And then there was one resignation from the BZA. And I think staff is still looking into who made that original appointment, because just like with the others, we need to find out who made the appointment
Right.
to determine who makes the replacement. And we don't know who that is yet, do we?
No.
Who was it
Resigned
that,
from BZA.
Adam.
Oh,
Adam.
okay.
So besides Adam resigning, the BZA is intact? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
So we still need to know who's supposed to make that appointment to the BZA, right?
Right,
Correct.
Okay.
but you can make the planning commission one. That's yours.
And again, it's because Clint serves as the president, he serves as the executive of the town, as an individual. He can make that appointment outside of the public meeting, because these meetings, Plan Commission and BZA usually happen before town council. They can serve then if you make that appointment, and then you can just announce at the council meeting later that evening.
So both those appointments can be done like that? The
For-
ED
yes.
Okay.
EDC and planning.
Well, I need to hash that out a little bit. I'm not gonna do anything tonight. Anything else on that subject?
No, sir?
Okay, next on the agenda is the department reports. You're first.
Alright. So council, I just wanna, bring some to your attention and kind of look for guidance with what you would like to do with it. We have an ordinance from 20.07, which is a 1982 ordinance, which basically was what we charge for accident reports for the police department. And the only reason I thought about it is because the other day, we actually had an insurance company come in that needed a copy of a report on a fatality that was very lengthy with a lot of pictures, and we really don't know what to charge. Right now, we charge $5 for a copy of a report, and according to this, it's $1 for each additional page over 3 pages. It's a 40-year-old ordinance, and really it's just for accident reports. If we have a criminal case that we're involved with that we need to get to an attorney, it really doesn't give us any guidance on what to actually charge for the report. For photos, we had over 200 photos. We kind of took a guess at what we probably should charge. So I guess I'm looking from the council to maybe, or to Doug, and do we want to change anything? Do we want to leave it the way it is? It's not about making money, it's just about what's appropriate, because there's a lot of time and effort put in, not only by myself and the officers, but the gals in the front that have to take the time to get it all together for us. And I don't know what's appropriate. I did look around, a lot of places are charging about $10 for a police report. Just a basic report, then anything over like the 10 pages, maybe an additional $1 per page after that. Some of our reports are 35 pages long. Then you add 200 photos, 300 photos for a big crime scene. And we don't want to be Carmel. Carmel's, the first 5 minutes of any body cameras, I think $50. Anything from 15 to 45 minutes is $150, and it goes more. Just something appropriate that we can have for our people in this community that still is reasonable. And I didn't, council, just maybe take the time to look at it, think about it, and Doug maybe think about it, because this is a 40-year-old ordinance that's just never changed. So maybe just time to update it a little bit.
I mean, if other people are doing 10, 15, whatever you think, I don't want to do 50 or anything.
Yeah, and I agree with
Moving it
that.
up makes sense, if that's what other people are doing, don't you think? Kind of be
Yeah.
with the norm.
I found one thing online was kind of $10 per copy, up to 10 pages, $1 each additional page after 10. If photos are taken at the scene, there's an additional charge for photos that are not included in the original cost of the report. And usually they're charging, they said, a $25 fee regardless of any type of what's being reproduced, whether it's a video, it's photos, it's an audio recording. Basically, it's $25 to put it on a disc and give it to the insurance, the attorney, the general public, whoever's needing it.
So Bob, if you put it on a disc or a thumb drive, then you're not running copies, cause you know, color copies, if you have photographs,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, and that's probably the way they prefer it anyhow, because you don't want 250 single-page photos, where I can put it on a disc. So for $25, that would take care of the time and the effort. Because we also got to remember, the officer at the scene's been out there for 3-4 hours working the scene, not just making copies in the back. So there's a lot of time and effort, not just making copies. So just a thought, somebody you have to think about, looking for direction.
Where'd you get your data from?
So I had Greenwood, I had Fishers, I had Cordsville, Fortville, Hancock County. But everybody's so generic, and a lot of people haven't updated just like we haven't. I mean, some of them are still the same price, and they have been for years. And if you don't want to change, no problem.
well,
Just,
but what's the current policy
ours
say?
is $5 for a copy of an accident report, and then anything past the 3 pages, an additional $1. Well, that's from 40 years ago when we used to handwrite the reports. So now they're not just 3 pages, now they're more like 5 to 7. So we're not even really following this, we're just charging $5. Doug, what do you think?
Yeah. So I provided a little bit of feedback to Chief. We were conversing via email. The policy being from 40 years ago, it predated the limits on fees for recording. So under the Public Records Act, the fees for copies are limited, are capped. There's a $5 certification fee that you can charge for police reports. So everybody wants the official police report. I think that's probably where the $5 came from. You can also charge your direct cost. When I looked at ISP, Indiana State Police, they were at $12. IMPD's at $12. They both use an online service, so they're just uploading all the reports to it, and then people go and pay the service to pull down. And I imagine the department gets some portion of that fee from the vendor. The standard fee for color copies under the Indiana Access Public Records is 25 cents per page. So for each page, again, the $5 certification, and then 10 cents for black and white. That might be an easy way to go, but it's going to be random. So maybe doing a flat fee that kind of encompasses your total cost, and then incorporate that $5 certification fee. Or if the town is interested in automating it, reaching out to one of these vendors that does all the back end for you.
And really, it was more about what do we charge for the photos, because it wasn't a report, it was photos. So
Did you supply that on a disc, or did
We
you
did.
give them the photo?
we supplied them a disc and we charged them $10. It was just kind of a, here you go. We just really didn't know. And they jumped on it right away. Oh, yeah.
Sounds like our food truck ordinance.
I mean, I'm happy to dig deeper if you want me to look at it.
Yeah.
I just
In
thought
my
we had-
opinion, I'd like Bob to look at it and maybe give something to Doug to draw up an ordinance and see what, then we could kind of look at it.
Update the 1987 ordinance?
82.
82.
Oh,
82.
whoa, okay.
Well,
You meant 40 plus years
and
old.
for what
right?
it's worth, I mean, it sounds like the $12 is pretty reasonable. And then set that up to a certain amount, and if you get color photos or things, or if you, Doug,
Yeah.
if somebody wants it electronically, digitally, can you charge a separate fee if we put it into a file and?
And the statute's pretty vague on it. It just says total cost, and they don't explain much, and there's not case law on it. It's like Chief said, usually it's a reasonable price, and they just pay it.
Yeah, they didn't balk at it. They jumped all over it, so I figured it was pretty good.
I'm happy to look into it more.
Yeah, I think that's a good
I will
idea,
too.
because I don't have any idea.
We'll work on it.
What else you got, Bob?
That's all for tonight.
Yeah?
I got to meet with Main Street last week. I talked about the town center. It was a good meeting. I think they were very receptive, and it's a good core of people to work with and get energy behind a project such as that. So I was glad to have that meeting. I get a phone call about once a month, and if I can avoid it, I do. But sometimes I get caught in my office. I have a fellow here he was born in 1928 from New Palestine. His name's Bob Gunn, and he lives in Cincinnati now. So I think I'm going to take a personal day and go up there and visit him, because the guy's a walking history of New Palestine. He was born on Mill Street, went to high school here. He worked at the factories, the canning factory that we had, the Bentwood factory that made the spokes for the cars. Just a wealth of information. And I just think it would be a good fit for myself just to go sit with a recorder, because you don't get that too often. We can get it out of the newspaper, we can get it out, but if you've got a guy right in front of you that can tell you everything that's went on in this town since the early 30s, it's going to be a fun trip. So I'm excited. I like that history stuff.
That it, Jim?
Yeah, Steve's working on a grant for us. I appreciate that. We're trying to get possibly some equipment for the town, the wastewater plant. So a crane.
Boom crane for the truck to lift pumps from lift stations. It's through the Community Foundation of Hancock County. Hope to start on that.
What else you got, Steve?
Well, I'd like to go with Jim on the Cincinnati road trip.
There you go.
Other than that, I think the potholes at the Lions Club was pretty much it. I did get the community crossings application submitted yesterday, so well ahead of the 27th deadline. That way, if some little thing, a road segment pops up, they have time to contact me and say, hey, correct this and resubmit it. That's about it.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Hey, Yvonne, what's happening in the clerk treasurer's office?
Well, it's the end of the year, so plenty. Got 1099s done, they went out today. W-2s are out, as you probably all received an envelope with the W-2. December's reconciled, hopefully, by next week on Thursday, we will have the whole year closed out, and we can step comfortably into 2023. In the meantime, we're about ready for the insurance to be redone for the coming year. And the crime policy is changing. Y'all need to be aware that the insurance companies, and apparently they're all requiring this, or most, that's what I've been told, are now going to require a multi-factor identification for your email. So you will have to, at some point, all download an app, and you will get a code sent to your app when you're looking at your emails. It's not every time you do your emails, but every 30 days or something on then a recognized device, you will have to do that multi-factor identification. So that's new, and that's pretty well the only thing I know about insurance so far. So we're getting ready to, sit down with the insurance company as soon as they have their quotes. That's all I have. You got anything to add?
Thanks, Yvonne. It's time on our agenda to open up the floor to public comments. So anybody that has a public comment can come up and speak, or just stand up and give us your name and address and tell us anything you want to tell us. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, stand up. My name is Janet Andrew. I've been a town resident for a long time now. I live at 550 West and 52. Jim came to our Newtown Main Street meeting the other night, which I sit on the committee, and was telling us about the proposed project for the amphitheater to possibly go in at 550 on the southeast side of the road. And I just want to come and give my support. I'm all about it. I think it's a great idea. I have friends here tonight too that are in support of it as well, and you know, we want to do whatever we can do to get the committee to vote on going through with the project.
Yeah, there's an article that came out in the paper today that discussed,
You read it?
and I read it. And, so yeah, it's something we're trying to get behind, and it's always the money thing.
We're long
We'll
overdue.
get it figured out.
So we'll see what happens on that. Anybody else?
Oh,
Yes,
she had a
ma'am.
question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't think Janet was.
Oh, is there anything that I can do to help promote it? Anything to get the committee behind it?
Yeah.
There'll be a couple opportunities we'll probably, to be able to write some grants, so that'll help.
Yeah, I think Jim would be the contact on that.
Who's gonna write those grants? We have a grant writer that we use?
We're not that far in yet.
We're not that far in it yet?
But if we know a good grant writer who wants to volunteer to do that, we'd love to talk to you.
Look over here. Look over here.
Have you ever read grants, Randy?
Yes. Public health funding grants.
Okay, anybody else have any comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Denise Abshire. I live in the countryside, 5904 West Country Way. I had like 3 or 4 different things that, and I don't know if this is the right venue, but I had some questions, and I was hoping someone could answer them for me. But first of all, I'd like to say I'm so excited to see so many people here tonight. That's really great, all the way around. It's very nice to meet new faces that I haven't met before, so that's great. Thank you. You mentioned it, Clint. You brought it up. If I may use your first name. Update on the food truck cost, length of the license. Did we go anywhere with that from the meeting we had back on the 7th of December when that was brought up? Did we do anything with that?
Well, the food truck committee, which is me and Doug.
And Jim, I thought, didn't you rope somebody
And
else?
who?
I thought Jim.
Oh, okay, well, you'll have to give Jim a copy of what I gave you.
Just what we need to know the committee.
So we,
It's like a zebra.
We're not an official committee. We're not subject to public records request
Yeah,
or
we-
open door law.
I went through it and marked it up and gave it to Doug and see if anything I said was legal.
Uh-oh.
We always get into legal problems
Let's
here,
just be
'cause
honest.
sometimes when we make our own laws, it doesn't work too well. So, yes, something has been
Because
done.
one time it was like $200 and now it's $25.
Yeah.
One time
And
it was
$25
$38
doesn't
and now
cover
it's
the cost of
unlimited.
doing the permit. So, yeah, if I'm answering that question right now, I'll say that it was tweaked, but only slightly.
Yeah,
More information to come, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't do anything without the, that's why we hire legal counsel.
But I'll throw in just a couple 2 cents on that topic. It's a really difficult situation because, you have an ordinance that was designed with the mindset that somebody's coming on a one-time basis. And then, not anticipated, but you have food trucks that sit there permanently or almost permanently.
The damn roots.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't know that that was necessarily a situation that was addressed by that ordinance. So I think that's what we're trying
Yeah.
to get to.
And
And find a happy compromise.
the ordinance I had before, the one that had the $200 fee, also, you couldn't park overnight in the town of New Palestine. So there was no, even, you know, leeway at all in that, and,
More like for an event than
yes,
Yeah.
come to town,
yes. So,
participate in our event, and then leave.
Mhm.
anyway, we'll see what Doug says, and see what he comes up with, and we'll have probably something, when, Doug?
We'll probably have to unofficially meet at a food truck to discuss
Yeah.
it.
Huh? Well, we don't want, the reasoning when it was originally, I hate to go into this, but the reason, it was originally $200. Well, the Lions Club was having their Friday night food truck, and, you know, those people were coming for 2 or 3 hours and having to get a food truck permit for $200. So then we lowered it to $25. And as it turns out, $25 doesn't pay for the time and paperwork it takes to do this, because they have to have liability insurance, and it has to be verified and stuff. You know, they have to have their health permits that need to be verified and all that stuff. So anyway, we'll see what happens with this new one.
Perhaps it needs to be regulated between something that's a 501(c) nonprofit, like the Lions Club, whereas something is the for-profit business. That could make a difference too.
There's you can put all kinds of stuff in one of those things. Other than that, I don't think I'll speak any more on it tonight.
Keep going, you had more, didn't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. At the last, we weren't able to be here 2 weeks ago. We had a prior commitment, but we were here December 21st, when Lisa Lanford was here, the superintendent of Southern Hancock School Corporation, and she had expressed some concerns about various things, but one of her concerns was she was no longer a non-voting member. Was that of the town council, or was that of the planning commission? And it was a question whether she actually could be a non-voting member.
She is a non-voting member on the RDC.
Okay.
She
Now,
asked for the RDC to look into it to see
Is
if they
it-
could have a voting member on there.
And you probably have to ask Doug about
Yeah, I'm
that
asking.
one, because the
That was gonna
statute,
be researched because it was questioned, you know, can she even be, and she said, well, the superintendent of Lebanon Public Schools is, so
because
she's very prepared.
yeah, and it's really, I looked at the statute says that the superintendent or the school designee is a non-voting member. So, you know, I don't know how you get around that,
Me neither.
because the statute is very specific.
Yeah.
Now, if there are other towns or communities that are circumventing that statute and having that position a voting position, you know, maybe they're hoping that a decision by the RDC wouldn't be challenged in court. You know, I don't know. I couldn't find any case law interpreting the statute, but if you read the statute, it's very clear.
Yep.
Well, she did mention Lebanon. It looks, you could look into that, Doug, and see how Lebanon was able to maneuver that. It would be worth looking into.
What else you got there, Denise?
Okay, on the meeting the 21st of December, Randy Bastain brought up a discussion about how voting is currently done, where there's a topic that's discussed, and then everyone votes. And then after the voting is done, then the floor is open for everyone to make comments and express concerns or reservations, or maybe have a clearer picture of what actually is going on at the time. And I kind of equated to, like, I'm gonna bake a cake and have you over and say, hey, I baked you a cake, it's chocolate, is that okay? And Brandy says, well, no, I'm allergic to it, so it's not okay. So it would be nice if we could have more open and free-flowing conversation about things instead of basically feeling like, you know, this is the way it's gonna be, and if you wanna comment about the fact you're not happy about what we did, but maybe we wouldn't be unhappy if we understood what was involved. So I think some transparency would be very helpful.
Well,
I'm big on transparency.
the only problem I see on that, and, you know, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but we have an agenda to go through, and to stop at every point on the agenda and open up for public comments, we might never get through that agenda.
And what I feel like usually happens is if it's something of merit and importance, like we'll discuss at one meeting and won't really vote on till the next one. So then you could comment after that before we actually vote on it. You will have some, does that make sense? I think that's usually how we try and do things.
I don't
Anything's
agree
merit.
with you, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
You don't agree with, you don't agree
what
with,
you're saying, but I don't agree with you.
you don't agree with that happens, or you don't agree that's the right way to do it?
I think as someone who's only lived in New Palestine for 2.5 years, that was up in Buck Creek Township and McCoursville for 23 years and felt kind of forced out of there to come down here. I'm really invested in the community. I'm a precinct committee woman, have been for several years. I've been involved in the party in this county for 30 years plus, maybe 40 years. I don't know. I'm 60 years old, a very long time. And I like to have a full grasp of what's going on, and I like to be able to articulate my concerns and to be heard in a public forum, because I believe when you have that kind of dialogue, you know, one person might be able to come to this meeting, but they might not be able to come to the next meeting, you know, and so they're gonna miss out on something because they weren't, these folks in front of me are here tonight because they didn't know about some things that were happening, and this is their first time to come, I'm not trying to. I'm sorry,
Putting you on.
but it's the first, you know, time for them to come and hear about something and learn about something. And I think the more people know, and the more bipartisan we are in our conversations about, by bipartisan, I mean, I'm for this, you're for this, let's find our middle ground so we can move forward. I just think, based on some of the meetings that I've been to, we've been to 7 of the 8 meetings, and so, you know, that's for the record, in person, and I just think meetings go pretty quick. I mean, I've never found one of the meetings to be like, oh my gosh, we were here for 3 hours and, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think they've all been, you know, very helpful, in some ways enlightening, in some ways not enlightening, but I really think that a little transparency would be, I don't think it's a bad idea.
And I think, you know, in the point that I made at that meeting, was that in my own experience sitting out here and still sitting out here in county or state, like today I was at the State House with 55 people from our county and our legislators were there. And, you know, when there's a topic that is of particular interest, right? And in my own experience in my full-time job, there are topics that are in need of more attention and of more questioning or public feedback. And when you have an issue that is that, let's say, urgent, or that goes on for a prolonged period of time, during which there's a lot of inquiry, I think it merits allowing public comment or questions before a council perhaps would entertain, you know, a vote, because, again, if you're elected to represent the constituents, you know, in making a decision, that's just where I'm at. Now, I'm not saying every single, like, how do you all feel about the potholes, everyone? You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, okay? So, you know, I'm trying to joke through that, but, you know, I'm not saying every issue, but I think it warrants, and in particular, I know Mr. Spivey's brought it up more than one time, you know, on his, like, well, I'm glad I got to listen to y'all debate in your decision making. Now here's, you know, what I think. I mean, I get it. So again, you know, we have a council president, and you know, it's at your, you know, consideration, but I do think at times there are issues that warrant, you know, public comment and feedback, not to make the meeting 4 hours long. I get it.
Well,
you know, but
the only thing about that is some topics that are involve zoning and have public hearings
right,
for that
exactly.
topic.
That's right.
And that's when, you know, that's when it needs to be talked about.
But let's say a public hearing is first held in February of a year, and 9 or 10 months later, it's still on the agenda every month. I mean, It's happened. It's happening now. Just a little break this week, I think. But I'm just saying, it happens. You know, it happens. And so I think it merits or warrants that perhaps, you know, not everyone was here during public hearing 1 or 2, and maybe it warrants, you know, again, I'm just vice president. I'm just sitting here. But just my thought, and to acknowledge what Denise said, there are times where, you know.
So who would you want to make that decision about what topic would be open for public comment before you voted? And, you know, if I was the one to make that decision, then there'd be complaints about that, so,
No, you're council president.
yeah, well, my decision is to go by the agenda.
I think it's.
And we have public hearings on almost every zoning and, thing that comes before those boards. There's public hearings, there's
Right.
public hearings on the, budget, and a lot of public hearings.
Testimony, sometimes they call it. First reading, second reading, third reading, amended reading, second amended reading happens. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm saying I'm right, but I'm just trying to acknowledge what I've heard, so.
And that's why I feel like if it's usually something of merit, we discuss it more than just the day of. Typically, I think, I don't know, if you don't think that's,
Well, as I said, we've only been in Palestine for 2.5
Okay.
years. And when something's brought to my attention, because I'm not a standard bearer or anything, but I have several folks in my neighborhood that I know, and they think I'm well-spoken, I have my head screwed on the right way. So I tend to ask a lot of questions, and I like to investigate, and I like to understand the whole picture, and I'll go that far, I'll set the bomb off in the room. When the $5 million TIF came up, I didn't hear about that until the 1st of October. Because busy life, lots of hours, didn't know anything about it. But what my spouse and I did is our due diligence, because we're both bankers with 85 years, so we're used to regulation, documentation, dotted line type. We drove up and looked at 2 other properties that they had developed. We looked at one at 86 in Westville, with another one on Town Road, west of St. Bees. We did research about the builder to find more about them. We wanted to understand the process and what was going into it. We were very vocal in the past when there was development in Buck Creek Township. A lot of it went on deaf ears. And now Buck Creek has some serious growth issues. They have fire departments that don't have enough men and women to fight their fires. We are habitually sending Sugar Creek Township firefighters up to Buck Creek because they're undermanned. And since this is my drag me out of the house dead location, you know, I wanna make sure that we are not repeating what happened previously a second time. That's my concern. My concern is that we make good decisions. Whether we approve a $5 million TIF or we don't, that we make good decisions about it, that we understand as a people that we're supportive of it. Growth is something that just, it happens. It's a natural part of life. I've done so much, I did $100 million in loans in the last 4 years. Growth happens. It's just part of it. Change happens. It's part of it. But I think there needs to be just some clarification on some things, some better understanding. The complexes we went and looked at, we thought they looked really nice. The one that's right on the Monon Trail, 86th and, 86th by then, wouldn't it, and Westville Boulevard. It's studio, 1 bedroom, and has 2 bedrooms. And the leasing agent said they don't rent the 2 bedrooms very often. So it is geared towards, you know, a younger set that doesn't have children. There's no green space there at all. It's right on the Monon. So there's not a playground or a swimming pool or, that's not, it's party central is what it's designed to be. Then the one at Town Road, which is west of the hospital, you make a right and go north about a half a mile, and then it's on the right. And it has garages underneath, very elegant. Probably I would say those that are near retirement or retired, and different kind of, you know, vibe to it. All very clean, all very neat, all appear to be in good repair. I did knock on anybody's door. I did do diligence, but I didn't go that far because I wanted to see what I was looking at, what I was dealing with, what we're paying for. know, because TIFs can be very good. I know that from 40-plus years in banking. I know TIFs can be very good, as long as we understand what we're paying for and what we're accomplishing with a TIF. And I think that's the concern that my neighbors have expressed to me who have lived on Country Way where we live. So, you know, I'll hunt you down later on if you want to. You know, but what I'm saying is, they said, this is something we'd like to understand more about. I said, what do you want to know about? I know who all my neighbors are. You know, we're all out there mowing our grass and trimming our lawns, and, you know, we talk about these. I said, what's your concern? I'll go be your voice. Two of them are going to be there tonight, but they have COVID, so I think you should stay away. But,
Probably best.
but they want to understand it a little bit better about what we're doing, and to make sure that, you know, the process is done in a manner that is as transparent as possible to those of us who are maybe not residents of the town of New Palestine, which I was told that when I called here, when we first moved here, well, you're not a resident of the town of New Pal. Kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, but I'm got a pretty tough hide, so I moved on. But, you know, you guys chose not to be annexed. Well, we guys, number one, I'm not a guy. Number two, I wasn't even here whenever that decision was made in Countryside, and I don't know what both sides of that equation were, so I can't speak to that. But I think those of us who live in Hancock County, in Sugar Creek Township, and have a New Pal address, and are within spitting distance of something going on like that. From my second-story bedroom, I can see the Hancock Wellness Center parking lots. So, I mean, that's close to me. Still, we do want something nice built there. We want it to be something that is attractive that's built there. We don't want something that causes crime, which is on the east side of Indianapolis, to migrate in here. That's a concern. That's a concern for the Sugar Creek Fire Department when they're sending their men into Cumberland, because there are some real issues about doing that. And the west side of Hancock County, which is where we sit pretty much, we have to decide what we want that to look like, not just today or when an apartment complex is built in 2 years, but what do we want to look like in 5 years? What do we want to look in 10 years? And somebody said something about, well, I don't want to, police chief, I think, said, well, I don't want to be like Carmel. Carmel's not all bad. It's a beautiful community. They have a good police department. They have a good fire department. It's not all bad. Everything they did is not all bad. Everything they did in Fishers is not all bad. But what do we want to look like? What do we want to look like in 5 years or 10 years? Do we want to look like Lawrence, Hamilton Pike? I don't think anybody says, wow, yes, sign me up. I want to do that right away. I think we have to make good choices. But I think those of us in the public feel like we're a little bit circumvented because we come here and there's a vote on the TIF and no discussion other than yay, yay, no, no, abstain.
Well, every time, all on the TIF, there was public hearings on everything. So how many public hearings were on the TIF?
We've had
9?
many discussions on that one here.
That's what I say,
30 as
there was
councilors
probably
been
9 public hearings.
To death, but.
I'm not gonna say 9, I'm just telling
No, I
you.
didn't.
I agree with
There was a
everything you're
public
saying.
hearing
I'll tell you
for
that
every
right now.
stage of the,
Okay, so you're saying bad on me because
no,
I
I'm
don't
not
say-
saying bad on anybody.
Okay, so let's not say bad on me, let's just say.
I didn't
okay.
say bad on you.
So what I want to know.
I said we had public hearings.
So what I want to know, and I was probably out making money and contributing to the tax base.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I guess my question would be, I was not at the meeting, as I said before, on the 4th, because I had another commitment that I couldn't be here. And I tried to watch it on YouTube, and I don't know, maybe it's because I'm 60, I don't know, but I could see bits and pieces of it, but I couldn't watch the whole thing from beginning to end. It wouldn't let me watch it. And I was trying to do it on my phone, so who knows. But as far as the TIF is concerned, when we went into an agreement, because I consider myself, even though I'm not annexed into town, I consider myself in New Pal, and I say I live in New Pal, and we like New Pal very much. When we went into this agreement with them, did we go into the agreement saying, hey, nod, nod, wink, wink, we're gonna get you your $5 million TIF, Bob's your uncle, and this is, great? Or did we go in telling them, well, this is gonna have to be passed, it's gonna have to be approved, we can't promise you that we're gonna be able to get it through? And then did they respond? Because what I was told is, so this would be gossip, so I need clarification on this piece of it. I was told that the nuclear option was unleashed 2 weeks ago, which that's a little dramatic, but what was said was, well, they're gonna build 100 instead of 280 because we're not giving them the $5 million tip. So I didn't know that that was off the table, giving them the tip. Was that in the contract? If we don't give them the tip, then they're gonna build 100 more apartments? Or was that an idle threat that they made, which I don't think is very nice? That's kind of rude.
The reason it's not on the agenda tonight is they've asked for a 30-day continuance.
To what end?
They asked for a 30-day continuance, and we granted it, or I granted it.
I'll field your question. You want the answer?
I don't have the answer. I don't know what the 30-day continuance is for, except for the fact that we have been stymied on that vote for the last, I don't know, 7, 8 town council meetings.
Since October 20. October the 5th.
The last few town council meetings anyway, I don't know exact number. But I don't know if they're gonna look for a different option, change their, I don't know. I'm not even gonna say, because I have no idea what it is.
So they didn't disclose with you,
No.
they just said. Well, that's passive aggressive.
Huh?
That's passive aggressive.
I don't know. There again, I
Well, you
don't,
supervised people as many years as I had.
At least they haven't pulled out completely.
yeah.
I mean, it's still a consideration.
I'll answer your question. I talked to Mohammed the other day and had a discussion with him and with Harold Gibson from the hospital, because the hospital's involved with the TIF and that property. He asked where I was at with the TIF vote, because it keeps coming up and it keeps falling flat on the floor. On the council minutes from the last one, I know you guys probably don't get copies of those, but in the council comments, Bill Niemeyer said there are some changes in the Bakovic project due to the decision-making issues. They are engaging in a value engineering resulting in higher density and lower quality. They purchased the land and are possible moving forward with a different product if the town is unable to provide assistance. I spoke with Mohammed, and I told him when we had the discussion with Travis Tucker, he was here, and he said it was a $5 million tip or he was gonna walk. And that's what the council understood. He said that that's not exactly what he meant. It wasn't 5 million or he was gonna walk. They are not gonna lower the quality of the apartments. Harold was in that meeting to say that they weren't gonna lower the quality because they built that state-of-the-art facility. They're not gonna put crappy apartments behind it. It's just not what's gonna happen. So he still plans on building high-quality apartments. He never said that he was gonna lower the standards. He never said he was gonna bring in more. There's no parking for it if they were even gonna try to.
Well, there's not.
Yeah.
I was, you know.
And Angie, I think that's a little bit incorrect, because the email that they sent to all of the council members, including yourself, what I said was exactly from their email. They said that they were eliminating the single-family villas. They were eliminating green space. They were eliminating the regional lift station. So and then that's from their email.
That was from Travis Tucker's email, because we got an email with that attachment given to us by Dale right before this meeting started.
Well, no,
And Mohammed said that Travis had taken liberties and ran with some stuff that he wasn't completely aware of. Now, I'm talking straight from Mohammed. I'm not talking about his other middlemen. This is from the owner.
and alls I can go
So-
is on the email that the developer sent directly to us.
So when I finished up my phone call with Harold and Mohammed, I called Clint and let him know what we had discussed, and that he had asked that we table it for the next 30 days, because I said, if it keeps coming up on the agenda, Brandy's gonna abstain because she's equivalent with the hospital. I'm not gonna vote for it until I have all the information in front of me, which I still don't. So it would just keep falling flat until everything gets in front. He said, take it off the table for 30 days, come back and we'll talk. So that's why it's not on the agenda tonight, and that's what was discussed. You're welcome.
So I'm a little confused, how can he not have the money but still put the same product out there? And did he go over that? How
He
would
didn't discuss that part of it. He said that he never actually, he's not done a TIF before. This is all new to him. He's rethinking his thought process on that after all the attorney fees and the bond counsel. He's thinking it probably wasn't worth all that. But he said that they're still going to do a high quality product, and that the hospital being involved with it, they're not gonna let anything low density, higher quality's not gonna go down.
Right, the representative from the hospital said that they would not accept a lesser quality, project.
I mean, the little things like Bill's talking about, would that still be considered high quality to them or not, or do you know, is that, would that, even that little bit of taken out would not be good, or do you have any idea?
Mama's gonna go back and talk to us and tell us what he was talking about with that, just to reassure, because he wanted to make sure and put that reassurance through that it was not gonna be a lower quality
'Cause-
product and higher density housing.
That's, I didn't think they'd build more, but my biggest problem with this whole thing was, I don't want a lower quality product here, and I felt like if this is what it was gonna mean, I couldn't believe we were gonna try and put less quality in our town, I just can't.
Well, when we were
Understand
discussing
that.
it, because I've said across, I've not changed on this, the $2.5 million TIF in the very beginning is where Buzz had said he could explain. He could not explain the 5 million, which I've stood by this whole entire time. So when we were talking on the phone, Harold Gibson said he could follow where that email thread started. And that was back when, February, when this all started. Building costs have changed, so there was a fluctuation there. So somewhere after that into today is where the 5 million came up of, that's what they thought that they would need. But
And I totally understand building costs have went up a lot since then, so I totally understand that, but I mean, if, I'm just trying to understand how they can still build the same product without that.
he's
That's
kind
been
of
my-
looking through that too.
I can't figure that out.
But he's still promising a high quality product and give it up to the
Well,
hospital.
and
You
if
have to cut
that's what,
corners somehow, I
if-
mean, I don't
if
understand.
that's what they bring to the table and they need time to put their pencil to the paper and figure out, but I will tell you, the email that I received, and that is the information that I conveyed, it was from their representative, it was very, very alarming.
Well, they
It was
they
disturbing.
must have did that before they talked to the hospital, because the hospital representative said they would not lower their standards.
And Mohammed said he wasn't gonna lower his standards, so
Okay.
taking it at that.
They won't build as many or something.
Can I give a statement as a
Please.
president of the planning commission?
Sure.
I think everything's a moot point because it's gotta go back to the planning commission. They had a certain number of units,
Yeah.
they changed those units, they wanted to go to smaller units, it has to come back to the planning commission. So anything they propose has to go back through the planning commission.
They-
You can
they haven't done any
speculate
of
all
that
day long
yet.
what it's
Yeah.
gonna be, but it has to be
Yeah.
approved.
To Ron's point, though, absent a TIF deal, they're held to the standards of the regular development standards for the town. And the proposal that you've all seen and has fences for some gentlemen in the audience, that's not part of the town's regular development standards. So Bukovic, per the town's code, is held to a standard down here or around here. The proposal that you've seen, and we'll wait to see what they come back with, I don't think it's proper to speculate this time, was
not gonna
somewhere up
speculate.
here. And so, you know what you can get up here if the TIF doesn't go through. They may do whatever they may do. We can't speculate on that, but just know that the standard is the town's regular development standards, which is not what they proposed to you guys. They've proposed well above that. And so that's what they'll have to meet when they go back to Ron.
That's been my point, I think they're talking up here, and we're saying, no, we want here. It boggles my mind.
Okay.
Is it, okay,
Oh, I'd like to comment about the TIF in any way.
who are you?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Greg Spivey.
Where do you live?
4546 South 600 West.
We need that, we need that for the record.
Anyway, I guess this comment could be, useless, but anyway, I'm going on what I read in the newspaper, which I guess is what Bill had, passed on. But anyway, when I read that, my initial thought is, I've been to not every meeting, but many of them, and especially, planning commission and stuff. And as I understood it, my recollection is that they had said, this isn't a picture of how this could be, this is a picture of how it's going to be, and this is the plan we will be doing. And I thought it was approved based on the high quality. So I would assume that if the quality was reduced or the number increased, like Ron said, have to be voted, but that's one thing. And then the other thing, that's been brought up here is, okay, construction costs have increased, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There wasn't any, that was not a condition of them getting approved, what it costs.
Not a
And that-
rider that says.
And that's really no concern of the town of what it costs a private developer to build something that should be, and at least not to put that back on the populace to pay for the taxpayers. But then back, another point to that, yes, costs have gone up, I understand that puts you, any developer in a predicament, or, they have to reevaluate their things. But it's also, and, I can't quote where this has come from, it comes from the business, information that they present on TV, on the news, that rents supposedly in the central Indiana area have increased by 17% in that just last year. So they have the ability to raise their rent to pay for the increases. That's how business works. When your costs go up, you raise your cost to the consumer. So that should play no consideration into whether they get a tip.
Well, then again, we have talked about having the rents, we've already talked about what the rents kind of were gonna be. I don't know if people wanted a certain percentage. I don't think,
Do you realize how low that was, Chris?
I do, but I'm just saying, are they gonna talk about?
$900, which that's just about section 8. That's,
I understand.
that's about section 8.
I do understand, but I'm just saying, they've already talked about that. I don't know if they've talked about raising all those to go with the cost of it. I
Yeah, they
definitely think
said
it's something they
would have
should.
to they would charge an appropriate rent to pay for their construction.
Well, their studio over at the Monon at 86 and Westover studio apartment is $12.50 a month. And I posted that out there for everybody to see. I asked what the rents were, and I went a step further and went to McCordsville, to the complex that's across from PNC on Hilton Pike, 67, 36, whatever you're calling it, depending on where you're on, Gateway. And their least expensive is a 1-bedroom, and it's $1,300. So it's expensive. Cheaper to buy, but y'all love them.
Well,
Jim, how many of the Pacovic properties have you visited besides the one that we went to up in?
Just one, and then Clint and we were on the phone with, he was walking through one of his apartment complexes.
We walked through the one in Jacksonville, Florida the other day.
Yeah, very nice.
Virtual
Uh,
walkthrough?
Well, he was there. We were there.
Okay, I was making sure. Whoa, business
I
trip.
don't know what,
Add that to the agenda.
I didn't mention it because, I wasn't there.
Okay, got you.
Yes, sir.
My name's Dave Reed, and I'm at 50 North Depot Street
Uh-huh.
here in town. And I'm totally off subject of this whole TIF thing and so forth. I just have a question for you. And Ms. Vice President mentioned a few minutes ago that she felt compelled to represent our community because she was elected, and I respect that totally. And so my question for you is, did I understand that tonight we just appointed a person to the town council for 4 years without them being elected? And while I understand that sometimes,
No.
there's interim people that you have to do until the next election, I thought that I understand that somebody got appointed to.
No, not tonight. No.
I just
It's a
wanted to make sure I
commission,
missed
it's a
it.
It's one of the
commission.
boards.
It's one of the boards.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have the power to,
Yeah, I didn't think so. I just wanted to make sure I
Yeah.
asked.
Yeah, and that term's by statute.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are purely elected, unless somebody has a surprise tonight, so,
I'll do it.
I thank you.
Did you have one more question?
I
You
have
said
one
5.
more,
Okay.
and, this is just going back to what we were talking about, opening up the meetings for conversation and everything. I'm really big on share and share alike and equal, and I was a little concerned, and a few people said something to me about it, that the 21st of December at our meeting, there was a gentleman, I quite frankly don't know who he was, I'm sure everybody else probably does, that was sitting on the front row, and he had an apparatus to help him with his walking, and he's somehow involved in the strip where restaurants behind the Taco Bell, you know what I'm talking?
Don't start.
And we had all been told we couldn't ask questions during the meeting, and he kept interjecting and kept talking and kept talking and kept talking. And it's kind of like, well, do you live in Hancock County? Do you own property here? Do you pay property taxes in Sugar Creek? And you're allowed to keep interrupting. So if we're gonna not let people talk until the end, that means
That wasn't a town council meeting.
That was the RDC meeting, that was Don Tharp that you're referring to, sat in the front row next to Lisa Landrip up here.
But also just under parliamentary rules and the structure of the town council meetings and those meetings, there's public comment that can be allowed or disallowed, but then the president or chair of the committee or council gets to set the agenda and recognize speakers as they see fit. So that was the property owner, and
And his name is,
Don
I don't
Tharp.
know his name.
Don Tharp.
And so
that I see on the signs that have all
the
the.
chair of that committee recognized him to speak, and they're allowed to do that, and there's nothing against doing that.
There's a differ of opinion. I think that if you let somebody from the public talk, then you have to leave the floor open to let everybody from the public talk. I don't think you get to pick and choose.
State statute and public records law and Robert's Rules of Order would disagree, and again, the chair or president has the ability to set the agenda for any meeting.
And perception rules today.
Do what?
My
Perception
my
rules the
reality.
day.
My
That's her
perception
reality,
is
yeah.
My reality, my
Yeah.
perception was that I can't do that, but this individual can do that because they were picked for favorite student in the classroom or buddies or something like that.
He's your employer, isn't he, Bill?
Oh, no, I'm
Isn't
sure
that who you
not.
work for?
Yeah, he is. Oh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't know
You
that.
didn't know that?
No. Well, I've been here 2.5 years, just started doing this stuff first of October.
Bill is lead counsel for Tharp Investment Properties.
Well, then is that gentleman his boss?
Yes.
Well, yeah, he had to call him.
Okay, is there any other public comment?
Done this.
Okay, we have claims to sign. 24/7/33 to 24/7/85. Do I hear a motion on those claims?
Did you mention that this was your favorite part of the agenda, Clint?
The claims?
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna do the claims before I do town council comments.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve claims numbered 24/7/33 through 24/7/85 as presented in your backup materials.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion on any of the claims?
I do, hang on. It was on the wastewater claims. APV number 24735. It was for Barnes and Noble order purchased in error on the wastewater card for $89.52.
That was me.
So how was there a mistake purchased on a Barnes and Noble order on a wastewater card?
Because I had it in my billfold and I sat there in line with 50 people in front of me. When I got up there, I started talking to the lady and I pulled out the wrong card. I have 5 receipts in that transaction, and the first thing I did, when I came back to town hall with cash, I said, let's settle this.
So there's a receipt that matches that. It doesn't show in here, of course. It's frustrating to me that you can't see the receipts. But that's the way the system works. So what you're seeing is we have to pay the credit card for the charge that was made in error, but the money was paid back in the first week.
Okay.
Actually, you guys owe me about 30, 40 cents.
No, we paid
Oh,
you. We paid you.
We
I
searched
have the
for,
signature, I'm pretty sure we paid you.
So how does that work exactly? I mean, the checks and balances at the wastewater, so, I mean,
if
you notice,
somebody, if there's, in this case, we paid the claim, because you have to pay, the credit card company, you cannot not pay them. And then there's a receipt where we show that he paid the town back, or the wastewater back.
okay, well, if he didn't come and say something to you, is there a way that you probably would have picked up on that and noticed it?
Absolutely, because
Okay.
then we'd have a credit card statement for which we don't have a receipt. And every receipt gets matched with every charge, and everything gets researched, and,
Okay.
I mean, down to the penny. If anybody wants to come and look over the books, come and talk to me anytime. It's down to the penny every time.
Okay. That was the only one that I had, Clint.
Anybody else have any questions on the claims?
I'll explain something if you don't ask. There's something, there's one that says payroll adjustment, same thing, we took, not the same thing. But this is also where there's, you see the money going out, you don't see the money coming in. This is moving the money from one fund to the other. It had to go from the general fund to the payroll fund in order for the payroll fund to then pay it out. It was paid out earlier in the year, and this is a correction. So this is, there's 100% money coming in as much as there's going out for this particular one. That makes sense?
That's all I have.
All in favor of approving claims 24,733 to 24,785, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passed. Okay, now let's go back to town council comments. Bill?
I have nothing, but I reserve the right for rebuttal.
Oh. Is that allowed?
I guess if you allow it, you're in charge.
Chris? Do you have anything?
Just stuff that's already been said, I'm really high on this, quality of what we're trying to put in the town, and I'm very interested to see what he has to say in 30 days, because if it's any kind of lesser quality, I'm gonna have a problem with that, so I want to keep high quality here, and it's kind of the goal.
Thanks, Chris. I don't have anything. Brandy?
I do have a question. Normally every year we do some sort of holiday meal or holiday outing, and perhaps over the holidays this year, not everyone was feeling as festive and desired camaraderie with, however. It is now after the first of the year, and so my question is, I think that's the least that we can do for our town employees, to have something, and for the sake of having the discussion on public record, not to decide like a menu or anything, but I mean, to have a discussion, is that something that we want to do, or try to plan, you know, now that we're after the first of the year?
Can
Unless
I-
y'all had one and we just weren't invited. And,
It was so
We
good.
got Taco Bell coupons, I think.
it is a no judgment zone if so, but I just wanted to put it out there, so.
Hey, can I, Angie, help me refresh my memory, because a year ago, when we had a Christmas dinner, it was brought to our attention that the town could not pay for that.
Correct.
And this is where I need your help in refreshing my memory, because quite honestly, I don't remember. I don't remember if I paid for it 100%, or if I paid 50% and you paid 50%. But I do know by statute, the town could not pay for the holiday dinner that we had at the Bluebird. And how did we pay for that, Angie?
We paid for it, Bill.
Okay, again, but just so that, you know, that's something else, that it's great to say we should do it, but you also have to think about, that's something that the town can't pay for. And thank you, Angie, for helping, I just couldn't remember.
And I mean, and just to have a holiday dinner together, I mean, like, a lot of workplaces, you
Like a
order
pitch-
something
a
in,
pitch-in, or-
a pitch-in, or you order something in and everybody gives, you know, divide it up. So I just, if that's something that folks wanna do, or that's something to honor our employees, we've done it every other year that I remember, so I just wanna bring it up.
Maybe a lunch or something for 'em. Agreed.
Anybody else? Council thoughts? Like a lunch or something? Love your town employees day in February? Wear red?
Valentine's Day.
I mean, I'm all about it.
Well, I would be willing to do it, if, you know.
I mean, that's when, you know, the one company, Little Debbie, has the heart-shaped brownies and everything, you know? I mean,
Randy, I don't wanna boast or anything, but I make an awful mean chocolate chip cookie.
Hear that?
Oh,
So, you know, we wanna have a pitch in.
yeah.
Well,
So maybe we could have a pitch in and we could go in for like the main, course or something like that.
hey, Randy, why don't
Chicken
you
and-
form?
Oh, am I the social committee?
Wait a minute, why don't we
No, I-
form a committee?
The unofficial,
You
oh,
and,
social committee, okay.
I think the committee should be Brandy and Brandy.
Well, we could go for the new brandy burrito at, spelled with 2 E's at Tony D's when it opens. Just because the owner's wife's name has 2 E's, I want a selfie, so, okay, anyway. Social committee, unofficial, okay. So I will speak with someone else unofficially about catering, I guess, or about menu, and we'll try to come up with a date that works for employees and create our plan.
How do we know that burrito's not named after you?
Well, because his wife's named Brandy. With 2 E's, that's what I was told, so.
I went to school.
You went to school there, yeah. I'm still adjusting to learning that, but anyway. So, well, we'll move forward and try to plan something. I hope people wanna come, bring a dish.
We appreciate it.
Okay.
On behalf of
Alright.
all the employees.
All right, we'll see what we can find out. Everybody good with that? All right,
Yeah, thanks, Randy.
that was my important news for tonight.
I'll bring the cookies.
You're welcome, other than the burrito.
Never made them.
Eat a chicken burrito, that's right.
What else you got, Randy?
That's it.
Angie?
The council, and pretty much I think everybody on the commission, had received an email tonight from Dale Wagner. And it's in regards to what we previously discussed about the apartment complex. But I also want to keep bringing into light to Dale that I did look into your phone and the pictures taken on your phone. I have reached out to Commonwealth. They are looking into it. I know that the person that we're discussing is on vacation this week, so I'm not looking for any information or feedback from that until next week. And when I hear something, I will let you know. But I did get your email and I read it. And then, second on the council comments, I would like to get a statement from KGR in regards to the voting for this TIF for the RDC, because their stance on it was that Bill didn't have a conflict of interest, there was no ethical issues involved with that, and that was their legal advice to the council. And so, in order to protect the council, I would like to get something in writing from KGR that says that it was brought to their attention and their stance was that there was no issues in regards to Bill being a voting member on the RDC.
We've discussed that ad nauseum, and we'd stand behind our opinion, and if the council president wants a written opinion, then we can certainly provide a written opinion.
Well, I mean, we've had a council member ask for it, so I think it's something we need to do.
How about I make a motion and see if it gets seconded? And then you do it, or is it okay if he just tells you, produce the letter?
If he wants it done, then do it.
Okay, he wants it done. Thank you. And that's all I have for tonight.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So
Motion to
moved.
adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye.